And we are live again. We had some technical difficulties. Hopefully, those technical difficulties are over. Welcome to Business Growth Insiders, episode number 14 Marketing Strategy in the Middle of a Pandemic World. Sounds like a movie.
Could be a mini series.
It could be. Could be.
Really?
Sounds more PBS than anything else, though. With me is always the dough to my nut, the favorite thing I love in the world. Lisa McGuire. How you doing, Lisa?
Doing very well, Jeff. How are you in your co-working space?
I'm doing good. It's all about growth.
It is.
So that's what this whole thing is about, is growth. Growing both spiritually, mentally, physically, and mostly professionally, because that's what we talk about.
That's our goal. That's our goal. We hope.
That is certainly the goal. All right. So today we are really talking about kind of marketing strategy in the middle of this pandemic world. This episode is really more for you to kind of give some insight, and I'll sprinkle in some digital marketing stuff here and there. But first off, really, what have you observed companies kind of doing in their marketing efforts in light of COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever else you want to call it, pandemic?
Exactly. Well, I think the thing is, Jeff, is none of us were trained for a pandemic. That was something we would see on a movie, but we never really thought it would happen to us. So it wasn't built into our business plans. It definitely wasn't built for that 2020 vision marketing plan that we had.
Yeah.
So what I saw, really, businesses did one of three things. One is they did nothing. They came to a standstill. They thought, we don't know what to do. We've never done this before. We're not sure how to move forward.
Right.
So we're just going to do nothing.
Right.
And when that happened, what happened to those Facebook ad prices?
They dropped.
They did. They did. They definitely did. So doing nothing, what happens is when you do nothing is you disappear in the mind of your potential customer. You're not showing up. If you're not there, somebody else will fill in that space.
Yep.
So that was one thing. Thing. The second thing that happened is people would continue as normal. They thought, well, I'm going to take advantage of the fact there's not as many people there. So they continued their marketing as normal. But the problem with that is they looked like they were outdated. They looked insensitive to what was going on in the world, that we had this new situation and so much, as we heard, uncertainty, unprecedented times. If I ever hear those words again, just brings back such just consistent memory of where are we going and what are we doing. And then the third thing people did for the other companies is they took a step back and they decided to pivot. They pivoted their message, they pivoted their product offering, and they really came up with a new way to operate moving forward. So what did you see on the digital side as far as, what we saw people do when COVID-19 hit?
Sure. So it's like this every time there's a recession, depression, whatever it is. And I don't even believe we've fully gotten to what this recession, depression will inevitably be. We can talk about that in a minute. But, I've seen a lot of businesses obviously shut down. We've talked about it before. They've shut down physically. They've shut down everything. We're in an interesting time where nobody knows what's going on. We're getting conflicting reports in the media. We are. It just is the way that it is. You have one person saying one thing, and then they're saying a different thing a week later. And so people are confused. And this isn't a political statement. This is what's going on. People are confused. When you have the Attorney General saying, you don't need to wear masks, and then a week later tweeting a post with his face in a mask saying we should all wear masks. Okay, why? What? And this was in May. This wasn't in April or March. So business owners are confused. They don't know what to do. I recently did a keyword research project for a company, and it was trying to figure out what employees are speaking on right now in regard what kind of questions that they're really asking. And it was interesting because Number one, the keyword tools that I use were not picking up a lot of volume based off of what
Mhm.
employees could be asking, which is interesting. Number two, employers use the phrase COVID-19. Employees are using the phrase coronavirus. The majority of the
Mhm.
public is using the phrase coronavirus. So, from a keyword perspective, that was certainly interesting. Um, and number three, I was able to find quite a lot of questions that law firms and HR firms and so on were actually asking about, what they think people are asking or what people have asked them or whatever. But there's no volume behind that, which is really, really interesting. And when you do the keyword research, you see that specifically right now, it's still very much into what is it, what's how many people are dying, da, 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 all that stuff, and it's not based off of employee-employer relations. People are still not going into their offices. Businesses are furloughing employees even more so now. I think Emory's furloughed 1,400 or 1,700 in the last week alone. At least that's what the news said. So that's why I see things getting maybe a little bit worse from that perspective. But there are plenty of businesses that are open. There are plenty of businesses that are continuing to open. Obviously, medical facilities, any of these places, doctors' offices, like I said, medical facilities. Uh, we've got pet groomers that are starting to try and open up, because everyone loves their dogs, but their dogs are raggedy and they need that, or salons, or barbershops. Gyms are starting to open. And okay, weird side note, but I gotta say it. Does coronavirus come out at night, like later out at night? Because why are all these businesses only open till 6, 8, 9? My gym is closing now at 9 o'clock. It was a 24-hour gym. Don't tell me you need that much more time just to clean it. It's a gym. They're cleaning it constantly. I,
Mhm.
Stupid joke. I get it. But seriously, like what is going on? Like why? What? Anyways, so I'm still seeing a lot of this kind of
Mhm.
garbly-gook, if you will, when it comes down to where businesses are. Um, but there's one thing that I do know, and that is opportunity. And
Mhm.
things will go back to normal. Okay. Not new normal. Don't give me that garbage phrase. I don't want to hear it. People will go back to normal because that's what Americans do. They will be resilient. They will go back to
Mhm.
normal. They tried this new normal garbage for after 9/11. It's not going to work. Okay. We will go back to normal. Okay. And so businesses will go back to normal. So you have to look at what's working now, right? So search, man, search is huge right now. Search is so much working when it comes down to people searching for businesses that are open. At least in the state of Georgia and some of the other states that are open, people are dying to get back out there, but they need to know who's open, who's not, what you're doing. So I'm seeing some businesses now make sure that they have a COVID-19 information banner on their website,
Mhm.
which is huge because if you're a business where there's some sort of contact, people want to be reassured that you're taking the necessary steps to keep yourself healthy and them healthy. Whether it's we're going to see another wave or not, it doesn't matter. At this point, from what we're talking about, but just make sure that you're taking those steps to kind of ease the fear of the population, because that's seriously a big issue now. But okay, so I'm long-winded. I've had too much coffee again today. What are you going to do? But so let's talk about marketing strategy, Lee. How should companies be communicating right now?
Yeah, so I want to pick up on your comment about the new normal.
Mm,
I think that came about because people realize we do want to get back to what we thought was normal, but they're also recognizing that we're not there yet. So that's where they've come up with the new normal, the new and different normal. It was interesting. I was at a networking event this morning, virtually, of course, and
of course.
someone said, before everything started. And if we can get back to before everything started and looking on the screen at people, their faces where everyone was nodding. We all know what that means, before everything started. Whereas 12 weeks ago, that would not have made sense. So you really have to be sensitive to what people are going through. And there's a wide range of emotions. There's a wide range of opinions on how we live our lives, whether we wear a mask or not, all of that. But I think the thing is you have to understand what are the concerns and what's the way to reach people with where they are right now. So I've got some research from Bain and Company. Bain and Company is a management consulting firm, and they have, it's called the elements of value. So depending on if you're B2B or if you're B2C, there are things that will really resonate with you of what you value at a particular time. And so now during the pandemic, those companies that are B2B, what you should be communicating on is how easy it is to do business with you. So the flexibility that you can provide in how you do business, or maybe the options that you have, like you said, what you're doing to reduce risk, how can you make them feel like it is safe to do business with you?
Yeah.
The stability that you have, are you going to be there next week? What are you doing to make sure that you're going to be there for them and to be available for them? So that's one area, is the ease of doing business. The second is the value that you have when you're working with an individual in B2B. And, people will say to me, well, B2B is different than B2C. And yes, it is. But at the end of the day, when you're doing business B2B, there's still a person on the other end of that business relationship.
People are still buying from people. That's right.
They are still buying from people.
Yep.
So you want to make sure you're reducing their anxiety. Think about that person on the other end of that B2B relationship or transaction, whichever category it's in, is they've got a lot of anxiety of, is this going to work? Is this going to make me look good? Am I going to be able to meet my numbers if I do business with you? So you have to meet and reduce their individual anxiety. And then the inspirational value is, what are we doing that's being socially responsible as a business? And we've seen that recently over the past several years. What social value are you adding to the world?
Right.
And again, during this time, we need to be emphasizing that as well. So that's B2B. For B2C, again, it's all about the person. And the three areas of that is, again, reducing risk, reducing anxiety, and the affiliation and belonging piece. And I think that is really quite interesting, because we were created to be in community. We're created to be in networks and tribes and whatever you want to call it. We want to feel like we belong. It goes back to like middle school 101. Am I like anyone else in this room? You want to feel a sense of belonging. So we need to communicate that there. So I've just got a couple examples I want to share with our listeners of what that might look like and how things have changed. The problems that our customers had 12 weeks ago, before coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic, whatever you want to call it, they have changed. So let's just use an example of B2B. All right. So a lot of B2B companies might be interested in attending an event, hosting events. Events have shut down. So how does that look different? So customers are really looking at their budgets as well. We can't go to events. So where does this money go towards? Do we even have that money anymore? Is that gone? If we're cutting people, can we really have a budget to meet this need? They're also looking at, how can we get cash flow moving? Cash is king. How do we get it in the door for that viability we need? There's the PPP funding. They're dealing with remote workers. It used to be we were all in offices because that's just the way it was always done. Can we really trust that our workers and our employees, our staff, are doing what they're supposed to be doing? And that goes back to the time when we had everyone working in factories. If you think about it, the way we did school, we were training factory workers. And so when people were working for us, we wanted to make sure they were on the job doing what they were supposed to be doing, not surfing Facebook or whatever latest social media. We wanted to make sure they were doing that. So that's how we were checking on them. Now we've seen a boost in productivity with some of the remote working. So that's been very different. And then looking at the need for office space, as people are paying these this rent for commercial office space, does it need to be done in the same way, or does it need to be done differently, where we're taking these large spaces and maybe making them live, work, and play spaces? So just some ideas there on what B2B is dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot of change, a whole lot of change.
A whole lot of change, and whether it's good or bad, we'll certainly find out. You know, I know that the biggest thing right now from a B2B to a Corona-19, perspective is employee communication.
Mm-hmm.
So, this goes back to the keyword research. Employers are wondering what employees are thinking, and employees are wondering what employers are thinking. Can I get sued if my employee comes back to work and, and contracts coronavirus? Do I have to tell my employer if I have coronavirus? Yes, you
Mm-hmm.
do. Weird, just it's a weird time, and a lot of weird things when it comes down to that. But marketing strategy, and which is what we're good at, is certainly a little bit different, and something that you know I'm seeing some businesses that are going full bore into SEO, into other
Mm-hmm.
forms of digital marketing and content creation, and they're seeing very, very big rewards for it. Because especially with an SEO perspective, if you're growing and Google is rewarding you, well, and the other company is not growing and they're not putting any money into it, then you're losing that ground. And there
Mm-hmm.
are massive amounts of ground being won and lost right now due to companies that are going full bore, knowing that this is going to change, this is going to end sooner or later, whenever, but knowing that this isn't the end of the world, and
Mm-hmm.
if they have the cash flow to do that, then they do. If you don't have the cash flow, you need to think about other ways of creating that cash flow, whether it's offering some lower end services, if that's a B2B thing that you're doing, trying to say you're on a 12-month contract and it costs $25,000. Well, maybe you try and get them to give you, I don't know, 18, 19 grand now, and you just got a big discount on it, and then you have cash flow. So, I mean, it's a simple example, and I understand that, but hopefully that'll get people to start to think about other ways of creating cash flow, to be able to sustain, to be able to continue to be around. I mean, I hate seeing restaurants and shops closing up, and I think we haven't even seen the brunt of it yet. Once the funding is gone, what really happens? Once everybody goes back to quote unquote normal, what's going to happen to
Mm-hmm.
these businesses? Are people afraid to go back to work? I've seen studies that have shown that people are not wanting to go back to work because they're making more money on unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch. As an employer, you got to think about that and think, well, what can we do to remedy that situation? And that would be pay your employees more and take less money if possible. Obviously, I digress.
Yeah. So
Um,
that just emphasizes that problems have changed. If you look at these companies, they didn't have these problems before. So when
yeah.
you are marketing your business, whether it is B2B or B2C, you've got to recognize that what you sold before may be solving a problem that no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
So really taking a look at that and crafting your messaging to that as well. Crafting it to that as well.
It's true. And that's a big thing, and I still don't see enough of that. And that
Mhm.
is that messaging. We're not trying to ignore the fact that we're in a pandemic. You've got to make you have to put that message out there.
Mhm.
And I've seen quite a few different niches that I'm not necessarily wanting to speak on, but other niches that there's definitely some sort of contact, and they're not putting up notices of how they're taking care of the situation. That there's emails that have gone out, and that's fine, but you've got to put it on your website, you got to put it on your
Mhm.
socials, you got to pin that to the top of your Facebook page, pin that to the top of your Twitter page, create a YouTube video about that, make sure that's there. I mean, you've got to use every part of communication that's available and make sure that people are understanding exactly where
Mhm.
you are within this coronavirus world.
Right, because they may not go the one place that you post it. So you do need to have it everywhere. And that shows that you are relevant and again, that empathetic understanding of trying to reduce their anxiety and have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and goodwill goes so far, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
kindness, when you're kind, I'm reading this book, and he's talking about like different faces of intention, right? So, and one of them's kindness, and he's speaking on like when somebody is kind to another person, that increases their serotonin levels, right? So
Mhm,
you're
yes.
getting that joy, but it goes further than that. If somebody were there to witness that kindness, their
Mhm,
serotonin goes up as well. It's just a really, really cool, scientific reality that when you're kind, it makes people feel good, and it makes
mhm.
people who are just watching feel good. And you can see that, like, if you ever watch a video on Facebook or something like that, where there's like a kid who gets glasses that he can now see in color. I've
Right.
seen this video a few times of different people, and then they just start to cry, and it's just emotional, and you feel good for them, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's all part of it. It's kindness, and that goes a long way in business. It goes a long way in marketing. Gary Vee is super, super pushing on kindness and being, caring and happy and all of that stuff, which is hilarious because he's a Jersey boy and
They don't do that.
they don't do that at all. But
Maybe they do.
but he's doing it, he's trying. He just does
Right.
it in his own way, right?
Mhm,
He doesn't smile, he just does his high pitched voice
mhm.
and swears a lot. But he brings out a lot of value to these people, and he's doing what he's doing. All right, so I want to get back into marketing strategy. What should businesses be doing now to gain that traction?
Mhm. So, you talked about the word opportunity, Jeff, and
Yeah.
the opportunity is there, but I want to caution businesses that this is not the time to be experimenting on, let's try this, take the spaghetti, stick it against the wall or throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. You really need to use strategies that have been proven and that have worked.
Hmm.
And yes, we don't have the historical data on maybe some of the things like keywords. We don't have historical data on supply chain to get groceries into our grocery stores, but we still need to move forward with all the information we have to snatch those opportunities.
Yep.
One thing I can think of is networking. And it was really interesting reading the study. I think it was on LinkedIn Research I saw yesterday. The people that are having a really hard time with networking online are the boomers and Gen Xers because they're used to that face-to-face, handshaking, sitting down for that cup of coffee or having a drink and really making those connections. Whereas the younger generations, very comfortable being online, very familiar with it. It is a no-brainer for them. They know how to build those relationships because they've been doing it.
Yep.
So really, making sure that you do that. We've talked about the need to be online. If people were not online before, oh my, they certainly have seen the need to be online now.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing more people taking what do I know in my expertise and how can I convert that into an online product or service where I can offer different levels. Taking that foundational message and putting it into a sales funnel. And that's one thing that I really just wanted to kind of call out that I've done in my business is I saw the need for people to understand how to move their marketing online. And it all starts with that message. So I've partnered with one of my StoryBrand colleagues, and we've created an online small group coaching program called Storymarketingsuccess. And what we're doing is helping business owners create that compelling message that's very clear. And then how do you put it into what we call a marketing sales funnel where you start building those online relationships and gradually nurture people until you turn them into a committed buyer
Hmm.
and working on that. So that's a program that's recently launched. We're in our first group with it. It's going phenomenally well. One of the exciting things is to watch the transformation of these businesses. Again, it's a 12-week program. So around week 3 to 4, you start seeing it's like the fog clears. After all this time they've been working, we've got one person's been working 20 years in their business. They've been trying to express how they do what they do, and they finally got it. And it's just a celebration that
Wow.
that they finally get there. So really exciting on that.
Wow. That's awesome. So can people still sign up, or are you going to have another group soon?
Yeah, so we do have our next cohort starting on June 11th. So that's
Mm.
right around the corner. It is storymarketingsuccess.com, and it is a 12-week program. Basically what it is, it's very manageable for time because we do have our businesses. We're still conducting business. So it's an hour a week of content that you consume. It's about an hour of an assignment and then a 1-hour coaching call each week. We also have open office hours. So when you get stuck and you need some help there, we're there for you. We also have a private Facebook group. And, you know, one of the things we didn't realize was the power of being in a small group with other small business owners is when you develop these ideas and message and marketing activities, you have a built-in focus group there to say, that doesn't make sense. Or what do you mean? Or, you know, we've had one small business owner that has been having a terribly difficult time communicating what we do or what she does. And the whole group helped her shift and get clarity on maybe a new product offering. So just these light bulb moments, these aha moments that come in. You also get a year subscription to Business Made Simple University. That is an online course through StoryBrand. They've got several different courses on proposals, communicating, productivity, along with the messaging and marketing framework. And it's a great way. So starting June 11th, we'll be done in August. So by the time you finish up Q3, you're going to have your marketing machine ready to go. And at that point, then you bring in and transfer it over to social media posts, some of those Facebook ads, you know, work in the digital part to have that foundation done so you're ready to ignite your marketing.
Well, that's awesome. That sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
I should have joined.
Well, we still have space. Again, we'll only take 12 people because we do want to give the personal attention. But we're very excited about the traction the program's getting. So I want to offer that to folks. Pretty affordable. When you look at, you know, if we were to build the whole thing for you, it'd be about $15,000 to $20,000. So it's a way to drastically reduce that cost and get it done.
Yeah, I'm sure it costs nothing more than a cup of coffee or two every day. That's about it.
About that much, yes.
Yep, absolutely. Which is always worth it. Always worth
Yes.
it because, you know, and I take a lot of online courses as well because you're able to acquire someone's knowledge that they've taken years and years and years to get, and you're able to acquire it in a matter of weeks or months. And that's just, it's so worth the money. Same thing with books, you know, same thing with books. It's so worth the money. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad. I'm excited for you, you know, as a friend and colleague as well, because, you know, creating that kind of atmosphere is not easy to do. Creating that kind of knowledge and group takes a long time and a lot of hard work. So cheers.
Yeah, it's been very rewarding. I think the other thing that was a shock is doing it with another StoryBrand certified guide.
Yeah.
He is more in the brand identity design area, and I'm more in the concept and copywriting area. So we really bring a lot of value to folks. So it's been really rewarding.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think it's time we kind of wrap things up.
Yes.
Just heard some crazy noise in the background again, but it didn't go the whole entire 28 minutes. So that's exciting. So hopefully nobody hears that garbage. Good Lord. So for those of you that are listening after the fact that aren't watching this live, please know that we are here for you. You know, Lisa has her private group. You can always reach out to me, jvincentcreative.com, Lisa at openwindowmarketing.com. We are always available for you guys. Love to answer any questions that you have. Look, especially in a time like this, you know, we all have to band together and be there for for each other. So any kind of free advice, help I can give, I'm more than welcome and more than happy to do so. And I know Lee will do the same for you as well. So if you like this episode, if you like what you have to hear, even if you only kind of like what you have to hear, please subscribe. We would appreciate it. You can go to Spotify, you can go to Apple, Google. These videos go up on YouTube. Obviously we go live. We're probably going to go live, I think, about every other week, roughly at this point, as our businesses start to grow again and we start to get busy again. It may even get back down to once a month, but sooner or later we're going to be able to do these in person again, which is great. I might have to wear one of those glass domes that I saw on the news. The stupidest thing.
See that.
Oh man. the things they're trying to pull, it's unreal. Yeah, it's a big glass dome that you sit under.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
silly. It's a silly time, folks, and you can obviously tell that we've been in the house too long. Uh, we need to get out and communicate with each other and get back to living the lives that we are destined to live. So again, thank you so much for Lisa. This is Jeff. This is Business Growth Insiders, episode number 14. Y'all have a great day.
And take your business and grow.
See ya.
Bye.